subscribers, and I told them, my subscribers, that I was removing my support for Tommy Robinson's movement. Now, I knew that there would be a backlash, and I was expecting a backlash, but the kind of backlash I have received from Tommy Robinson's supporters has been something truly disgusting. You all know, or you know, Mark, and a lot of your subscribers know about the video that was made about you and me and Shazia Hobbs, which I thought was awful, just an awful, awful smear video. But anyhow, I knew that just saying to these people, look, I'm removing my support from the movement, wouldn't be enough. I really felt that I needed to do something to get everybody talking about the movement, and the only way I could figure out to do that was to create drama. And I created the drama that I deleted my YouTube channel with the 24,000 subscribers, which worked because people in these chat rooms just, it just blew up out of all proportion. And I have seen the results of, I'm not just saying it was me, but I've seen the results of people actually thinking for themselves, because the last official demonstration that the Tommy Robinson movement did in London had about 800 people. There were about 800 people at the march. So I think that people are starting to see that movement for what it is. I feel now that the core of this Tommy Robinson movement, if we just take that as an example, has some aspects of being a cult. And that might sound, I don't know, a little bit too much maybe. But if
no, please explore that. I mean, it doesn't sound like it's too much to me. Please explore that. Go ahead.
I think that it's not, if you, now you know about Shazia Hobbs because she's been on Mark's channel, and she had her article removed from a free speech platform, supposedly free speech platform. She was then removed and unpersoned from that organization, where before, you know, 1 year before, she was nearly royalty, if you like. I can't think of a better word to describe her than that, in that movement at that time. And then I've been pointing out things to Tommy's supporters, trying to point them in the right direction. But it seems to me that this movement can do whatever it wants, because the people, the core people around the movement, they want something to hang on to. They want a hero, and they see a hero in Tommy Robinson. And to let that go will be such a negative thing for them to experience. I think that a lot of them can see it. I think a lot of them know that what I'm saying is true, and what Shazia has said is true, and to some extent what Lucy Brown has said is true, but they just will not remove themselves from it. And plus the fact that they will get a backlash, the kind that I have received and Shazia has received, which they are that they're giving out this backlash themselves to me and Shazia, so they're going to receive that too, and they know that. So it's difficult, but I do feel that some aspects of this movement are a cult, or are cult-like.
What was your general perspective on that kind of culture within kind of this street movement? Did you get the feeling that lots of people were just there for a little bit of titillation? They were just there for a few beers?
Well, yeah, you can definitely, you can see it now happen in front of your eyes, because as I told you about this demonstration that has just been cancelled, you can see on YouTube, if you look, some of the one, I can't remember what his channel's called, but he's a cameraman that goes to many of these demonstrations, and he's ripping his hair out because reading between the lines, that's what he spends his spare time doing. And I feel that what he actually is saying is, if I don't have this movement, then I don't have anything. And I think a lot of people think that. I went last year to the, I don't know what it was called, Free Tommy Day or something like that, in July last year. And I met loads of people. It was a carnival atmosphere, even though Tommy Robinson at the time was in prison. And the whole point of the demonstration was to say, well, you know, we want him to get out of prison. But yes, there was drinking, and of course you saw the transvestite person on stage talking at that event, and I'm thinking to myself, what on earth has that got to do with anything? God, it's like, I don't know. This time at the Old Bailey, two of was it Danny Tomo and Richard Inman? I can't remember. I think it was those two dancing on stage to some music. It was just kind of like filling in, and it was just weird. It's weird. You know, I get so many people saying to me, this is all your fault, Dion Muller. You broke this movement up, and you created division, and you did this, that and the other, and you're so evil. And I think to myself, well, you know, I'm just one housewife in Denmark, and Shazia is just one woman in Scotland. And if it has taken two women to break this movement apart, then there couldn't have been unity in the first place. There could never have been that cohesion that people think there was, because there wasn't. Look at what's happened. What did I do? I left a movement. You know, I became a follower of this movement voluntarily, and I left the movement voluntarily, as is my right, and look what happened. It just crumbled. So I don't think I personally have that much power. I think that these thoughts have been in people's heads for a very long time, and maybe that I was just the catalyst. You know, I was just the thing, the dot over the I, or the last nail in the coffin, or whatever it was. And I don't mind being a scapegoat at all. People can blame me all they want, but they have to remember that, you know, if that movement was as unified and as fantastic as people say it is, then none of this would have happened. It would have been, well, adios, Dion and Shazia, and we'll see you never. But it's not.
No, that's a very interesting perspective. I think you're very right. It was already on shaky ground, and I think a lot of people were thinking what you guys said. It was just you guys were the ones to say it, and I think by saying it, it's kind of opened the floodgates, because I've heard it's not just you guys as well. I heard there's another woman called Tracy Blackwell who's saying similar things, who's calling out, you know, asking where some of the money went, asking, you know, what's been going on. And you know, there's a lot of people now asking what has been going on, and I think that's a very, very pertinent question indeed.
It just, I have a big question mark over my head about what on earth is going on. And as late as yesterday, I saw a video by one of the other guys involved with the Tommy Robinson movement. His name is Richard Inman, an ex-military man. And he is this guy who gets up on stage and shouts, "Where are all the English men? Why aren't you doing anything?" And he's quite a powerful speaker. But yesterday I saw a video of him as quiet as a lamb, really, telling Tommy Robinson's supporters that the next demonstration is actually cancelled because they fear reprisals from the police. You know, that's not what he was saying a couple of weeks ago when he made a video saying that getting arrested is part and parcel of this movement. So he seems to be flip-flopping. And looking at the comments to that video, and now I know he's disabled the comments to that video, but before he disabled them, people are furious. They've paid money, they've paid for train tickets and hotel accommodation to go down to this demonstration, and now this movement is cancelling the whole thing only, what, 1 or 2 weeks before it's supposed to occur. There's no real explanation. People are going absolutely berserk, and to me it's just, I don't know whether the real reason is that donations aren't coming in anymore as much as they did. Yeah, and I think that's where Lucy Brown might come into the picture, because she was on Morgoth's Review YouTube channel, and she made some allegations about the movement which I also have heard, but because I don't have any evidence to substantiate those allegations, I wouldn't say what she said. But some of the things that she said were also some of the things that the person I spoke to on the telephone that day told me, but with a little bit more detail. But still, I can't prove it, so I wouldn't say those things, even though I've just sat here and said them now, basically. But from what I saw at the movement on that day at the Old Bailey, my son was with me actually that day, and before I went on the stage, he kind of whispered in my ear, "Mum, look at Tommy Robinson." And I said, "Well, what's the matter?" He said, "Well, look at his shoes." Because I'm not particularly fashion conscious and I don't go around in designer labels, but my son, because he's 17, he likes that sort of thing. So he pointed to Tommy's shoes and said, "He's wearing Gucci something or other." He called them a name, a special name. And I just kind of looked blank at him, and he said, "Yeah, well, they cost, God knows, I think I don't know how many thousands of pounds they cost, but they cost a lot of money." I can't remember what he said now. And that didn't really affect me until I got home and I started putting 2 and 2 together and thought, yeah, you know, this guy is going around in Gucci slippers, he's wearing designer clothes, things that the average person can't afford. The cars that, if you watch some of the demonstrations, and I've gone back in time and watched some of the demonstrations, especially when Tommy was running for MEP, you can see some of the vehicles that he arrives in. Now I've got an old Volkswagen Lupo that is standing on my driveway, which is about falling to bits, you know. I couldn't afford those sort of cars. I can't afford those sort of clothes. I know that Tommy doesn't have a job where he gets paid a salary, so the only way he is getting these types of things is through donations. And you know, apart from that, I think the management of the Tommy Robinson movement needs closer scrutiny from its supporters, because basically we've got somebody in Israel, Brian of London, I think he's called on Twitter, lives in Israel. Avi Yemeni, who lives in Australia. Those two are the management of the Tommy Robinson movement, and I think, well, what on earth have they got to do with Britain?
Went round and round in circles and nothing came of it. Do you think to a degree that people now running Tommy Robinson's movement are literally doing that, leading people round by the nose, and it's basically just a circus? Because I do see a huge amount of very, very distressed people. I see a lot of people who've got real problems, who are facing real issues, and I see them now being just led around. And it's donate, donate, donate. And I actually feel very sorry for these people, because these people are donating for change. And what they're getting is a guy on a stage in Gucci shoes. You know, they're not getting change. You know, they're getting Ezra Levant flying in from Canada, Avi Yemeni flying in from Australia. But none of these things solve any of these problems. It's almost like this traveling circus. And I just see them being taken for a ride. I mean, how do you see this concluding? Are these people going to be led around forever? Do you think Tommy will eventually just take retirement somewhere? What do you think? Because obviously you've been far closer to this than I ever have, because I've never been part of that Tommy Robinson street movement. But what do you see as a conclusion to all of this?
Well, before he went into prison this time, he, was it 48 hours before he got put away, he made a plea to Donald Trump, the United States of America president, to say, please give me political asylum. Now, if you think about now, at the time, I was inside the bubble and I didn't see it. But now I'm outside of the bubble and it's so clear to me. He knew he was going down. He knew he was going to get put away. He made that plea to Donald Trump as a sweetener to his fans, because I believe that when Tommy gets out of prison, he will leave the United Kingdom. Whether he gives up his activism or not, I don't know. And maybe it sounds a bit conspiratorial, maybe, but my head is, my brain is saying all of this, what's happening now, what's happened over the past 7 weeks has been planned, because he wants out, and somehow I can understand how he wants out.
These people, by all means, we should call out the disingenuous leaders of these organizations. We should call out the Danny Tomos, the Avi Yemenis, the Ezra Levants, the people who are saying donate, 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 the people who are saying fill out our important survey. You know, if you want, sign this petition. I always love the Ezra Levant petitions. This is just a bit of an aside, but where do the Ezra Levant petitions go? You know, sign this petition to stop the mosque, and then I'll take all your details and send you begging letters. It's like the petitions go nowhere. You know, you sign a petition to hand it into the council. You don't sign it to send it to Ezra Levant's little, you know, behind the scenes monkey who rips out your email addresses and sends you begging letters. That's not a petition. That's signing up to a scam. But, you know, we have to call out the leaders.